this episode of Cobb TV, we're going to be talking about the drumming style of Bernard Purdie. Yes, and be sure to like and subscribe for more epic musical content. So before I get into Bernard Purdie, I must talk about how I discovered him. One day I was just looking up drumming videos on YouTube, literally just typed in drumming videos, and Bernard Purdie's instructional DVD came up, and I was blown away when I discovered that he's the one who came up with the beat in Fool in the Rain. Yes, the Purdie Shuffle. So I looked into him more and discovered that he was teaching lessons in my town when he was going to be coming through on tour. So I decided to take that opportunity to have a private lesson with him, and he came back the year afterwards and I took another private lesson with him. But needless to say, what he taught me changed the way that I played drums for the rest of my life, and I still think of him when I sit down behind the drum set. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what Bernard Purdie taught me personally towards the end of the video. For now, let's get into his influences and then of course talk about some of his most iconic drum beats. Bernard Purdie began playing drums on pots and pans and eventually started taking drum lessons from Leonard Haywood, who had connections to the big bands that would come through town. And then through the Count Basie Orchestra, Bernard Purdie discovered Papa Joe Jones, who he has said is one of his biggest influences. Actually, his biggest influence. He said that he wanted to dress like him, look like him, and play drums like him. And he said that nobody could swing a big band with brushes harder than Joe Jones could. So Bernard Purdie eventually moved to New York and became a studio drummer. And the first beat that I'm going to talk about is actually Hang On Sloopy by the McCoys. I love the story behind this that I read in his biography. He showed up to the recording session and was told to sound like a beginner drummer in high school playing in a garage.
Hang On Sloopy. They wanted me to sound like a beginner.
Ah.
They wanted me to sound like a trash band, garage band.
Right.
You know, I mean, they didn't use those terms then. They wanted a sound, and it was something that they wanted, and he said that you'd have to sound like a 14-year-old.
So how Bernard Purdie achieved this beginner drummer sound, aside from playing a basic beat, what he did was he deliberately didn't switch to the ride cymbal pattern right when the singers come in with the chorus at the beginning. He actually waits a few beats before doing that, as if he forgot to switch to the ride cymbal when the chorus kicked in, like he was supposed to. The other thing he did is play a very simple rhythm on the floor tom, which is actually overdubbed. And when you listen to the floor tom part, he sneaks in a couple double drags in there, as well as some syncopation during the verses. When you listen really closely to a lot of different Bernard Purdie songs, you can hear that he has his own sound and his own little tricks and nuances that he throws into the music. You just can't hold this guy back. So eventually his name got out there that he was a big studio cat, and Hal Oates ended up hiring him to play on one of their records and one of their biggest songs, which is She's Gone. So yes, when you listen to She's Gone, you can start to hear a lot of his offbeat hi-hat hits, as well as just that really solid, funky ballad groove that he just so tastefully plays. And of course, we can't continue the video without talking about his involvement with Aretha Franklin, and his personal favorite song that he played on with Aretha is Rock Steady. And in Rock Steady, you can hear his classic breakbeat styled groove, as well as his hi-hat, psh, psh, psh. And he is such a big contributor to that song. Another thing that Bernard Purdie did that was so iconic is the way he plays straight ahead 16th note grooves while still playing ghost notes on the snare. And if you listen to The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, you can hear him doing just that. But perhaps one of my all-time favorite Bernard Purdie breakbeats can be heard in the song Soul Drums off of his solo record. And if that groove sounded a little bit familiar to you, that's because it has been sampled, and one of the songs it was sampled on is Devil's Haircut by Beck. And yes, as promised, I said I would talk about what Bernard Purdie taught me. There's actually 2 full videos. They're audio only, but you can listen to my lesson with Bernard Purdie because he encouraged me to bring a tape recorder and tape record the lessons so that I could listen back to them. But a lot of the things he taught me were to just practice my grooves half as slow with the snares off so I can hear the true sound of the drums, as well as knowing where the one is. Just knowing where it is made so much of a difference. Keeping my drums at arm's reach so I'm not getting myself tired. Wearing leather sole shoes so I can feel the vibrations of the pedals. And of course, once I understand how to play my instrument completely, then moving on to the next step, which is using it, selling it, making it work, making myself viable for others. And I have to say, Bernard Purdie, his videos, his instructional videos, was actually what inspired me to make instructional videos. Not only just to inform and teach others how to play drums and understand music, but also to make them fun and watchable for all sorts of different audience members, whether they're musicians or not. So hats off to Bernard Purdie, and please give this video a like, and consider subscribing for more exposés on really, really great drummers. But in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.